I have been a professional artist since my first year at university. I've been exhibiting my work for 20 years now. I work in oils and charcoal. I very much love painting the human form. I consider that to be my main focus. I love faces and bodies. I chose to paint Marie Curie because the stuff that's happening with the Trump administration and what's happening culturally has really moved me to create arts which speaks to the problems of our times. I felt moved to start to make paintings of some of our greatest scientific minds in history. I started with Albert Einstein. I figured he was a good place to start. Marie Curie was an educator, and she was also a female educator. She overcame enormous hardships in order to educate herself and others, and trailblazed for women just all over the world. She was the first woman to become a professor at the Sorbonne, which was the University of Paris. She was the first woman to win the Nobel Prize. She was the first person to win 2 Nobel Prizes in different subjects. She won one for physics and then one for chemistry. She's just an incredible woman. You know, in a male-dominated society, and especially in the sciences, which have been very traditionally male-dominated, it's important to address the growing current of misogyny in our society by celebrating the achievements of women. Particularly now when we have a president who thinks that it's okay to grab women by the pussy, to actually objectify women and humiliate them. I feel that it's our responsibility to educate young people, both girls and boys. Women are people too. It's never okay to be told that you can't do something because you're a girl. I do think that science is under attack right now. When I heard that Trump had essentially gagged the scientists to prevent them from talking about global warming, that horrified me. I'm married to a scientist. We talked about it a lot, how just this sort of culture of ignorance is becoming more and more prevalent and more acceptable to deny the facts of science. This shouldn't even be an opinion. So I think people actually do know when you're being honest in your work and being true to yourself. And I place a very high value on honesty in life and art. I like to work on a big scale. I like the impact of a large piece of work. I like looking at them. I like producing them myself. It's a very physical process, and I enjoy that. I teach at a local community college. I teach painting and drawing. One of the things that has been really concerning me is this growing sense that to be an intellectual is a bad thing, and that it's somehow elitist and not a desirable quality. And I find this particularly troubling both as a parent and as an educator. We're living in this time when the alternative facts are becoming more and more commonplace every day. I wanted to start creating images of some of the great thinkers of our time to really just remind ourselves of the reasons why humanity has progressed to the point that it has, and that if we forget about our intellect, that we might slip into some kind of totalitarian regime where nobody questions anything. We must always question authority. I think that that's incredibly important. The American writer and biochemist Isaac Asimov, and he wrote this in the 1980s that I'd like to share. And he said, "There is a cult of ignorance in the US, and there always has been. The strain of anti-intellectualism has been a constant thread winding its way through our political and cultural life, nurtured by the false notion that democracy means my ignorance is just as good as your knowledge." And what we need to do is to raise awareness that to be intelligent is not to be elitist. Intelligence is not necessarily being book smart, but the way that you question and observe the world. The other reason why I chose to paint Marie Curie was for a very personal reason. 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. The diagnostic procedures would not have been possible without her discoveries of radiation and her development of the X-ray. Met very many MRIs, CAT scans, X-rays, ultrasounds over the past couple of years. Without her work, I might not even be here. So she had a particular relevance for me. The reason why I want to do this painting and this series of paintings is to contribute to this growing voice and to also encourage other people to use their voices however they can. Do something, let people know that you don't agree with the system, that you don't agree with what's happening right now. I think it's our collective responsibility to stand up and be heard, to protect our rights, to protect the environment that our children are growing up in, to protect our world, to protect our culture, and to protect our values. Nothing in life is to be feared, it's only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less.